All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Elite 32 Summer Jam. We've got session 2 for you here. This matchup is going to feature Baylor basketball taking on the Florida Flight. Marcus Burnett going to do a little solo duty here on the webcast today. Be sure to stick with us for our next couple webcasts, as we'll have J.L. Hemingway joining me. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and give you the action. Baylor basketball, a team out of the Northwest Indiana region. Here taking on the Florida Flight out of, you guessed it, the Sunshine State. And we're about ready to get started as we've tipped off. Gonna have to do that segment of it again. No, there won't be a tip-off. It'll be Baylor basketball. Still started off, three-pointer on the way. That one no good. Bailey Wolf with the rebound for Flight. Looks like Mitchell going to pick up the foul there. So there's Chelsea Johnson with it for the Flight. She'll get it over to Font. Font will get it to Astasia Titer. Titer's having a solid July here for the Flight. Gets it into Wolf this time. Wolf has that shot blocked, but they're going to say there was contact on more than just the ball. That foul going to go against number 12, Kadasia Sanders. So that's going to send Bailey Wolf to the free throw line to shoot two. Got two real good teams here. Florida Flight, team we've seen plenty of here on Prospects Nation TV the past few weeks. Baylor basketball, headed up by Coach Baylor, a staple in boys and girls basketball up there in the Northwest Indiana area. You still got a 0-0 ball game after that trip to the free throw line by Wolf. Here's Font coming the other way. Stolen back by Baylor basketball. Hawkins going to get it over to Sanders. Hawkins with the step back. Good looking shot there. It's going to make it a 2-0 ball game as Hawkins helps Baylor basketball strike first. Maybe that's all it took to kind of open things up as Astasia Titer answers back with a triple for the Flight. Hawkins with the strong move inside. It's my first time seeing Hawkins play, but seeing some similarities between both her and Astasia Titer as far as the solid build and the strong play. Be a fun matchup to watch. Hawkins misses the first free throw. 3-2 ball game here in the first half. Hawkins good on the second free throw. It's going to tie the game up at 3 apiece. So getting another quick trip to the charity stripe is going to be Hawkins. Hawkins is out of East Chicago Central. There in EC, school that has produced several solid players. Echuan Moore of the Orlando Magic played his college ball at Purdue, came through EC. They've got a host of players that you may not have heard of, but plenty of athleticism coming out of there in East Chicago, Indiana. So Hawkins' trip to the free throw line makes it a 1-point advantage here for Baylor. Got 14 minutes, 27 seconds left to play here in the first half. Here's Font out of the corner with a three. No good on that shot. Sanders pushing for Baylor. Drops it off to Hawkins. She does the rest. Six to 3 in favor of Baylor basketball. Wolf going to get called for the travel there. So Baylor basketball with a little bit of momentum early. You can tell the Flight still getting a feel for their opponent. As Baylor's doing the same thing. They're just off to a relatively quicker start here early on. That ball going to be last touched by the Flight. It'll go over. It'll stay with Baylor, I should say. They have a 3-point advantage here early on. It's a good look, and it's knocked down. That shot splashed in by Hannah Mitchell. Just a deuce. But a 5-point advantage for Baylor basketball as Stasia Titer sensing it's go time. Making it a 5-8 ball game. One of the things you'll notice with Titer throughout this game is we see Hawkins get another bucket to go. That Titer really senses when her team needs a bucket, and she tries to answer the bell herself a lot of times. And, more times than not here in this July period, she's been successful in doing so. Strong start so far for Tajane Hawkins for Baylor. Checking into the game for Baylor now is going to be number 24, Imani Hart. Font no good on the free throw. So still a 5-point advantage for Baylor basketball. Flight have it. Here's Harrison going to try a three-pointer. That one just off the front of the rim. Wolf trying to save it. Unable to do so. So ball back over to Baylor basketball. 5-point advantage for them. Just over 13 minutes left to play here in the first half. Cross-court pass. Splash there along the baseline. Second bucket there for Hannah Mitchell. It's going to make it a 12-5 advantage. Titer trying to get things done. Sanders knocks the rebound right to Font. Font can't get it to go. It's going to be a rebound by Miller. And here comes Baylor the other way. Behind the back, crossing over is Hawkins. Nice defense by Titer to cut it off. Miller going to step in for the mid-range. Good-looking shot there. And Coach Evans wants to get a timeout. This Baylor basketball team coming out. Solid start for them as they have a 9-point advantage here with 12:23 left to play here in the first half. That last mid-range splashed in by number 4, Michael Miller. Majority of these team members for Baylor basketball out of the Hoosier State of Indiana. 2 listed on the roster out of Illinois, so a true Midwest representative here in Baylor basketball. And so far, representing the Midwest well, as they have a 9-point advantage against a very good Florida Flight team. We'll see how Coach Evans' squad can respond out of that timeout. Harrison with the ball, guarded by Ferguson. Ferguson just checked into the game. Harrison, big bucket right there, has a chance for the three-point play the hard way. Beyond what you see in the box score, Harrison does a lot as far as the heart and soul of this Florida Flight team. Does a good job of being able to harass defenders, the length of the court, create turnovers, but also being able to finish from the inside or the outside. She misses the back end, but Titer with the offensive rebound, pulling up on the jumper, can't get the roll to go. Sanders will bring it the other way. Sanders going to go all the way to the cup. It's going to push the Baylor lead to 11 points. Correction, it's a 9-point advantage. Baylor trying to add to it. Sanders with it out top. Swings it over to Miller. So far, this Baylor basketball offense has kind of caught Florida Flight off guard. Sanders, the floor general, with the ball. She's done a good job of setting her pieces up. Johnny Hawkins had a good start. Sanders was really able to get the ball to her and help her get them started on a good note. Here we see her with the court vision, getting the assist inside. Imani Hart with the finish. That'll make it 18-7. Three from the corner is no good for Johnson. The push by Sanders, hesitates, kicks it into another gear. Just short on the shot though, but she's going to get a second opportunity, and that's going to send her to the free throw line. Foul going to go against number 11, Astasha Tider. So that will send Sanders to the free throw line. Sanders out of Bishop McNamara in Bradley, Illinois. Three substitutions in for the Flight. Number 22, Sierra Cumby. Number 3, Yo-Yo Cupidan. And number 13, Ashley Rodriguez. If you look at Flight, you know, they played a lot of games this July, as have Baylor. Baylor just with a little bit more energy here in this one. And you can tell with Flight, the efforts there. The legs a little stale at this point, so we'll see if they can do something to kind of rejuvenate the squad. Meanwhile, Baylor has really come out and jumped up to an early lead here. Be sure to check out Prospects Nation for all of the archives of the games that we've had over the course of the past week. Cupidan inbounds it to Johnson. Johnson loses the handle, tries to save it. Unfortunately for her, it's right to Michael Miller. Miller gonna stop and pop. Count it. Michael Miller really showing off that mid-range game here early on in this one, as Baylor forces another turnover. 20-7 ball game. I guess one turnover deserves another in that instance, as Baylor gives it right back. One of the rare miscues for them so far here in this game.
Coach, how do you pronounce Hawkins' first name?
Back into the game for Baylor basketball is going to be Tiajane Hawkins. She's number 22, really helped them get off to a good start. Here we see her coming in and getting a steal. Doesn't take her long to be productive there. Gets it in the hands of Miller. Miller trying to take it all the way, gets in trouble, but finds Hawkins. Hawkins has it stripped away. Loose ball, unable to save it. So it's going to go back over to Florida Flight. 9 minutes, 23 seconds left to play in this game. 13-point advantage for Baylor basketball. Both baselines full of coaches watching these two squads, and rightly so. Harrison gets it to Rodriguez. Rodriguez with the catch and shoot. Long rebound, but you want to see her be aggressive. She's one of the energy players here for this Florida Flight team. Is Rodriguez, and I think the shot of energy will really help them, on the execution side of things. This Baylor basketball team not really leaving a big margin for error here with the way that they've played defensively, but also the rhythm they've experienced on the offensive end. Miller with it. Hawkins wants the ball inside. Also a new substitution in. Number 25, Jordan King in the game for Baylor basketball. Behind the back goes Sanders, continuing to push it. Gonna take it right at Rodriguez. She'll have to go to the line to get those two. So foul against Rodriguez. That will send Sanders to the free throw line.
Come on, KK, make it count.
Sanders has really been a catalyst here in this game. It was from the playmaking end to start off, being able to get Hawkins and Michael Miller and others involved. But we've also seen her be able to get to the third level and be able to score that way as well. Along with taking a few trips to the free throw line. So a productive start for Sanders. She's really helped serve as a catalyst, and big reason why it is a 14-point advantage for Baylor basketball. Jennerine now into the game. She's number 23 for the Flight. Harrison going to try a three-pointer. Rodriguez with an offensive rebound, able to hit it over the outstretched arm of Tiajane Hawkins. They're going to need more plays like that from Rodriguez, even if it's not scoring. Being able to create extra opportunities with their hustle plays, that's going to be key, as we're going to have a loose ball foul here, going to go against Baylor. Baylor has had the upper hand in this game, but by no means count the Florida Flight out. They are a solid squad, top to bottom. Battle tested here in this June period with some of the matchups they've had, so they're going to continue to fight. We'll see if Baylor is able to keep the momentum going, or if they give them a chance to get back in this game like they would want to be. Gonna have a jump ball called. Tanan Hunter had the rebound inside there before she was tied up. Back into the game for Baylor basketball, going to be number 24, Imani Hart. Cumbie over to Cupidan. Cupidan with the three-pointer. No three balls will fall for Florida Flight. Haven't seen one go down since the Stasha Tigers won to open the game. Since then, it's been all Baylor. Sanders no good on the shot. Jennerine with the rebound to get it ahead to Harrison, who's got Cumbie. Cumbie going to be called for the travel. That's a tough break there for the Flight. They have a chance at a wide open layup. A little bit tripped up there was Cumbie. So ball back over to Baylor. 7 minutes, 12 seconds and counting left to play here in the first half. 12-point advantage for Baylor. Harrison trying to play denied defense on Sanders, but Sanders has it. Drops the dime to Hart. Hart gets the roll to go down. Harrison doing her best job to make things tough for Sanders. It was good defense there, just better offense on Sanders' end, and she has another assist for Baylor here in this one. 23-9 ball game. 2 subs back into the game for the Flight. Bailey Wolf, number 40, checks in. And seeing her first action of the evening is going to be number 0, Randy Chandler. .6:30 left to play here in the first half. Just short on that three-point attempt. Wolf gets it to Johnson. Nice defense right there. Nobody yelled Wolf. Stealing on the other end, going coast to coast was Ferguson. She can't get the shot to go. Bailey Wolf going to be called for the foul there. It's Coach Baylor's team really coming out with a strong start here. It's going to send Tiajane Hawkins to the free throw line. The EC native knocks down the first. Can remember some epic rivalry games between my high school of Hammond High School and EC Central, which is where Hawkins attends school at. Definitely some epic matchups taking place there on that campus. Steal by Baylor. Here's Hart looking inside for Hawkins. Hawkins feels like she has a mouse in the house and goes to work accordingly. Tiajane Hawkins with another bucket. to make it a 26-9 ball game. Florida Flight still trying to get in double digits. Michael Miller going to fall on the ball and get a timeout for Baylor. We've got 5 minutes, 29 seconds left to play here in the first half. Some of the storylines of this first half has really been Baylor's start. They've really gotten off and rolling. A big part of that is, beyond what they've been able to do to score the ball. They've really done a good job defensively. Astasia Tider, number 11 for the Flight, is a player that we've really seen be able to score almost at will here during this July Live period. And Baylor basketball, got to give them credit for really coming out and playing the defense that they've played. So we're ready to resume play from the timeout. There's Hawkins. That Hawkins-Tider matchup is only going to get funner to watch as this game continues on and Tider really tries to ignite this Florida Flight offense. Ferguson guarded by Font, uses the crossover. Now the floater. Nice floater there by Ferguson. Gonna have a traveling violation called on the Flight. Coach Evans just, imploring with this team to settle down just a little bit. But I think a big part of this has really just been what Baylor has done right. And, you can just tell that the number of games that this Flight team has played really just kind of taking its toll here in this matchup. Bucket inside there by Hart. As Chandler going to step out of bounds for the Flight. The way this first half has gone, it's just one of those things to where I think if you're the Flight, you just have to make sure you stay within striking distance. Currently trailing by 21. Obviously, you may not be able to erase that deficit by the time halftime hits, but you can make that a more manageable, low teens. And at least you put yourself in a position to have a good second half. But meanwhile, this Baylor basketball attack has been hot and hazy with no signs of letting up. Here in the first half. That's a timeout. We're going to take a short timeout with them. When we get back, we'll bring you more coverage here from the Elite 32. We're ready to resume play. Baylor basketball off and running here in this one. They've got a 23-point advantage here. They've been rolling on all cylinders. Tider has it, loses it for a second, but regains it for a strong take and a deuce. Tider's bucket brings the Flight into double digits here. 3 minutes, 55 seconds and counting to play here in the first half. Hart continuing to try to go to work inside. Too strong on that shot. Gonna have a foul against Sierra Cumby there on that play. It's number 40, Bailey Wolf checks back into the game. Chelsea Johnson going to have a seat. Hawkins with the weight room move inside. Just off the mark there on that shot. Here's Font. Font to Cumby. Wolf wants it inside, half positioning. A good job of hustling on the play there as Hart dives to knock it away. We're gonna have a free throw opportunity here for Amari Ferguson. They're going to rule the foul on the floor, so no free throws. Back into the game for the Flight, number 13, Ashley Rodriguez. Hawkins to Miller. Michael Miller going to try a three-pointer. Seen her knock down a few mid-range shots. Can't get that tray ball to go. Hart continues to be buckets on the inside. Jessica Font, no good on the three-pointer. The follow by Tyder won't go. And it's just been that type of game so far for the Flight. As I mentioned, no lack of effort at all. But the ball has just not bounced their way, and Baylor basketball has really come off on a mission and executed up to this point. 2 minutes, 41 seconds is the mark here in the first half. Here's Harrison. Harrison no good on the shot. Hawkins with the rebound. She's going to push it ahead to Sanders. Sanders changes hands midair, unable to get the shot to go. 2 substitutions coming into the game for Baylor. Number 32, Tanan Hunter, and number 15, Mashanique Loggins. Loggins going to be fouled there on the plate. It's going to send her to the free throw line. Tyder with it, the jump hop. Just wanted to roll around and stay down this time, does Tyder. That'll make it 36-13 here in the first half.
Make the free throw.
Sanders will get a trip to the free throw line here. Good on the first. Good on the second. So 13-38 ball game. Rodriguez slicing through 2 defenders. Loggins able to track down the rebound. Minute 23 and counting left to play here in the first half. Miller gonna lose that out of bounds. Miller looks like wanted a foul call there on that play. Tyder getting it ahead to Font. Fall away shot, no good there. Harrison gonna try a crack at it with a three-pointer. Good save there by Tyder. We'll see if the Flight can take advantage of that hustle play by Astasia. I think that possession has really been indicative of how the game has gone thus far. Great job of trying to, hustle and spark her team on by Tyder to save it. But again, good defense by Baylor to make sure that no second effort produces any points. This has been a very strong half by Baylor. Not a whole lot of things you can point to the Flight doing wrong. I mean, they've had a couple more traveling violations and small mishaps than we're used to seeing with this team, but it's really been more a case of what Baylor has done right versus what the Flight have done wrong so far here in this first half. As it looks like Ferguson stepped out of bounds on that one. Tiajane Hawkins checking back into the game for Baylor. Here's Tider. Changing that shot midair. The defense of Hawkins and Loggins. Seeing eye pass there by Sanders. Loggins can't get the first layup to go. Second attempt, no good either. And that's going to do it for the first half. Baylor basketball up large in this one. We'll see what happens in the second half.
Sorry, man. I had to man that front end, dude. Am I good for the second half, though?
Yeah, it's already set up for you.
I didn't lose my SUV status, huh?
No, not at all, bro.
Snap, I don't know.
And the second half is underway. Marcus Burnett, I'm going to be joined by J.L. Hemingway. A little solo action there in the first half, but I got my running buddy here on the second half as Florida Flight tries to reverse the trend of this game that Baylor basketball is set. Hemi, it's been a lot of Baylor basketball doing things right here up to this point.
Marcus, glad to join you back here on the microphone for Elite 32 Summer Jam Session 2. Closing down the summer here with a little Florida Flight and Baylor basketball. Getting one final look at the Florida Flight. Astasia Tider here at the line, going to shoot some free throws, but as you mentioned, it's been all Baylor basketball early. Mainly behind the work of number 12 in blue, Kadijah Sanders. Heard a lot about her coming into this tournament. She's definitely living up to the billing here on this Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, she was really a table setter early on. Her and Tiajane Hawkins.
Kadijah. All right, I'm getting corrected here on the pronunciation of Miss Sanders' name, Kadijah. Sanders. But yeah, Marcus, it's been a good first half. Looking forward to a good setup here for the second.
I think when we look at this second half, I think if you're Florida Flight, the more energy plays that you can make to try to reverse what's happened up to this point, the better. Because I think a lot of that first half was really what Baylor basketball did right, as far as execution. It really wasn't poor basketball on the Flight's end. You just got to make some energy plays that kind of get the momentum in your favor.
Tough part of July as well too. A lot of games have been played, a lot of tournaments that have been played in as well too, as Hawkins knocks in that pull-up jumper, 5'10" forward, 2015 kid. This is the time of year where you've got to reach deep down and find a little bit extra, because those legs are a little bit dead, and there's a lot of fatigue, I think would be the word to use in this situation.
Yeah, and that's really what we've seen with the Flight. And not to make any excuses on their end at all, because Baylor has had to deal with July as well. They're just off to a quicker start, and Flight's really trying to change things around, but it's tough when you've got a team playing as well as Baylor is playing right now, and the legs aren't cooperating.
Yeah, one thing that Sanders does such a good job of, as you see in that previous possession, is her pushing the tempo and being able to find, open teammates in transition. And speaking of finding open teammates, Tyder finds that cutting teammate along the baseline for that open lay-in.
That's going to make it a 42-18 ball game. Baylor basketball with it. Here's Hunter. Hunter working against Cumbie. Cumbie with the advantage there on the perimeter. Ball's on the deck. We'll see who the jump ball gives possession to. Looks like it's going to stay with Baylor. So Michael Miller will inbound. Hemi, we've talked about the mid-range. Michael Miller has definitely showed hers off here early on in this game.
It's important to be able to knock down those in-between shots. Being able to get to the free throw line and in, and either be able to score it from there or find an open teammate.
You see Jalen Harrison with the rebound. We talked about energy plays. She's going to have to be a spark plug for Florida Flight like she normally is. Off the mark on the jumper there, but Rodriguez going to get a shot at it, and she cashes in.
Nice shot there by Rodriguez. Saw her get a nice little bucket in the lane earlier, and now, she providing that pull-up jumper there, the second opportunity for the Florida Flight.
Tiajane Hawkins working against Cumbie. I've really been impressed with what I've seen so far from Hawkins in this game. Game really not the same, but I was, really highlighting the similarities between her and Anastasia Tyder when you look at the strength that they play with, their ability to put the ball on the floor and be able to score at different levels.
I like the comparison. And Hawkins, as you mentioned, built a lot the same way as Tyder, but just very productive. You've seen it here early on, being able to get to the foul line and score, in that 15 feet and in area.
Johnson going to get it to Rodriguez. Rodriguez off the mark there on that shot.
Now there's a July shot for you there.
That's a good way to put it, man. Even Rodriguez kind of gave a face like, oh, geez.
It's a situation where she caught the ball moving away from the basket, never really regained balance, and one of those errant shots.
I mentioned Jalen Harrison. I think Rodriguez is also going to be a key part of any comeback effort. She's always nonstop energy for this Florida Flight team. So she'll be a common denominator if they're able to have a comeback. But Tiajane Hawkins, meanwhile, continues to pour it on.
Yet another bucket here for Hawkins in this second half. Again, showing her nice 15-foot jumper, and now she's going to lead the break.
Drops it off to Sanders. Blocking foul against Harrison.
Usually it's Sanders that leads the break, dumping it off to her teammates. Now we have Hawkins bringing it back the other direction, dumping it off for Sanders, and she's going to get a couple shots at it at the free throw line.
As we see Hawkins kind of motion over to the bench, letting the coaches know she could use a breather here. It's well deserved at this point with the production she's been able to have here in this game.
Nice line of coaches on the back row here this afternoon. Augusta has really become a hub of women's college basketball in late July. You see Arizona, Houston, Wisconsin, Ole Miss, Georgia State, South Alabama, a whole host of coaches that have piled in here for the Elite 32 Summer Jam.
Great seeing all the exposure provided for these players and really how they've taken advantage of the stage. We've had some great games over the course of the past few days. I've seen Florida Flight be a part of those, and here Baylor basketball doing the same. Is they definitely haven't disappointed so far at this point.
Well, when you get to this point in the year, you know, a lot of kids have, you know, made names for themselves. And coaches getting one final look at, you know, how these kids will perform and so on. And Stasia Tider is a great example of that. You know, the fact that she's been able to make a name for herself very early on, and now has, you know, even gained, you know, some interest from, you know, some power conference schools. And, you know, last chance that these coaches will be able to see her before, you know, the fall time hits and the offers, you know, come out.
Tider's number 11 in the orange jersey for the Flight. Here's Jennering with it. Cross court to Font. Font just short on the shot. Johnson with an offensive rebound. Little high-low action is finished inside by Bailey Wolf.
Good seal there by Wolf, was able to pin that defender on the top hip and was able to convert the high-low feed. And now Sanders coming back the other direction, going to try to use the ball screen.
She gets it to Hart, but Wolf ties it up there. That's going to send it back over to the Flight. Imani Hart has been a good resource inside for Baylor basketball. She's finished when given the opportunity to do so. Nice move by Johnson to get past her, sidestep, and to finish. A little bit of razzle-dazzle there by Chelsea Johnson.
Marcus, I've been a big fan of Johnson's this summer. I've been singing her praises, you know, all along, and it's easy to talk about Tider and, you know, some of these other kids as Sanders knocks down yet another bucket. But Johnson very quietly has produced, you know, although in spurts. Seems to have a finger injury that may have, you know, caused some inconsistency on that jumper at different times. But really like what Chelsea Johnson, number 12 brings, or excuse me, number 15 brings to the table.
We have another steal by Baylor basketball, dropping it off to Michael Miller. Miller makes it a 49 to 24 ball game. Number 5, Jalen Harrison checking back into the game for the Flight. Tiajane Hawkins doesn't get a very long rest at all. She's back into the game. Here's Ferguson. Kicks it over to King. Hawkins wants it inside. Stasia Tider has other plans, and she steals that one away. Jennering gets it over to Tider. Tider to Wolf. Layup drill on the other end for the Florida Flight.
Nice job there by the Flight, being able to make the extra pass, and it leads to an easy layup. Flight starting to get some things going here in this second half.
Sanders can't get that mid-range one to go. Wolf fighting inside for the rebound, but Hart continuing to work inside. Hart does a good job because even though, you know, relatively speaking, she has a good height, she still has players that are taller than her in the post, but she's able to out-rebound them as a result of using her body and positioning.
Yeah, great point, Marcus. We call those positional rebounders. You know, a lot of times you don't have to have the most amount of height or even the most amount of athleticism. If you anticipate where the rebound is going to come and you be able to use your body you can get a lot of rebounds by just being in the right spot, and Hart really exemplifies that.
You know, it's your Zach Randolphs, your Charles Barkleys, your your undersized guys that really show how. Well, can't really call Zach Randolph undersized. I think with him it's more of the athleticism standpoint. You know, he might not jump over a phone book, but he'll out rebound you any day.
You know, you look at the women's college basketball level, and you could talk about Bashara Graves at Tennessee. You know, the power forward there for Holly Warlick, and wow. Sanders there with a nice step through in the finger roll, showing her talent here this afternoon. But to finish that thought about rebounding, you know, Graves, you know, always very strong, you know, strong through the shoulders, and definitely one of those kids that you wouldn't mistake for, you know, having a lot of bounce. You know, she's never going to be a threat to dunk, but she can always grab those rebounds by being in the right spot.
Johnson good on the first free throw. 27-51 ball game here. 8 minutes, 45 seconds left to play here in the second half. Johnson splits the pair of free throws there. Here's Miller. Kicks it in the corner. Sanders going to try a three ball. Kadasia Sanders really giving you buckets in a variety of ways here so far today.
It's impressive to be able to see a kid, you know, at her stature, such athleticism, the ability to get to the rim, and now showing her ability to shoot jump shots. And speaking of jump shots, that's Tighter answering right back on the other end. But to finish this thought on Sanders, she is a threat to go by at any particular time, but as you can see, she's got good technique on that jumper, and even the ability to create space in that mid-range.
Hawkins gets it to her up top. She's really been able to slow the game down, not necessarily in terms of physical pace on the court, but really making things look easy from the start of the game. It was her that, you know, while you saw Hawkins really getting the first, you know, cluster of points for Baylor, as we see Michael Miller with a nice move there. Hawkins really started them off with the first cluster of points, but it was really Sanders setting it up and being able to kind of weave through the defense there early on. She'll pull up here off the mark.
Yeah, that was a good decision there by Sanders as well, too. Had two defenders in front of her. No need in trying to force the issue. Instead pulls up, it doesn't fall. Really like her overall skill set, you know, the ability to score in a lot of ways. She reminds me of another Chicagoland or Chicago area guard in the class of 2015. She has skills very similar to Tania Page. A kid that you may or may not have seen. Marcus played a little bit with the Mac Irvin Fire last year, but a play creator, a kid that can play the point, create off the bounce, but also scored in waves off of the jumper too.
Can't remember by the name, Hemi, but if she's in that same comparison with Sanders based off of today's play, that's a very good spot to be in. They've really haven't given the flight much of a chance, you know, from the get-go. And each time the flight have really tried to turn it on, Baylor had, you know, they really closed the window to where the bar is set very high as far as a comeback here.
Yeah, no doubt. And Sanders really elevating herself into the conversation of the elite after this tournament here at the Elite 32 Summer Jam.
It should be running right now. 56 and 26.
Did she just touch the ball?
Shot knocked down there by Bailey Wolf. That's some of what she does for this team.
Nice pass. What a good feel right there to be able to beat her defender Sanders, that is, and then to be able to draw the help and then dump it off. Great touch and feel.
Chandler with it for the flight. Goes inside to Wolf. Wolf trying to go to work. Hook's no good inside. Tider with the offensive rebound. Going to pull up. Shoot the jumper. On rebound there by Sanders, who's done a good job being able to rebound the ball as well. And we talk about the benefit of having a guard. You know, when we were watching, Jasmine Holmes, Mississippi Ballers during our webcast the other day, and really noticing how she does a great job rebounding the ball from the guard position. You know, your thoughts on how that really can be an asset for some of the teams?
I think it's very important, and another great pass there by Sanders, showing that she can score, drive, and dish it. But to expand that idea of rebounding guards, you know, a lot of times it's going to be your bigs that are blocking out down on the block, you know, battling for position and so forth. And, you know, the offensive team oftentimes will drop their point guard or maybe even their two guard back in defensive transition. So you really need your guards to be very active, to swoop in, to pick up a defensive rebound at times, because if you don't, if they're, you know, leaking out, you know, for a fast break, and as Cumbie misses that lay-in. If they're not active on the defensive glass, well, you know, now you're playing 3-on-3 rebounding, or so to speak, and you're going to only win about 50% of those battles. So you've got to play the numbers right there, and you've got to have guards that are active. Guards, as you mentioned, Holmes and Sanders and such, are just very well balanced players in that way.
We're seeing Sanders and Harrison still continue to go at it. You've seen Harrison make several hustle and heart of the team plays throughout this July, and continuing to compete here, even though the upper hand has been in favor of Baylor for the majority of this game. There's Miller on the drive. Ball knocked away by Cumbie, who goes and gets it. Chandler going to look off Hawkins and get it to Tider.
I'm not sure if that really qualifies as a true no-look pass, but hey, it looked good anyhow, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely wasn't a no-look, but she had Hawkins in between Tider and Cumbie. Did a great job really looking at Cumbie to kind of sell Hawkins, and then getting it to Tider.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a good way to put it, Hemi. Kadeja Sanders continuing to impress here at the Elite 32. (64-34) ball game, but Cumbie gets an easy bucket. Four minutes and counting left to play here in this one. Hawkins working against Tider. Hunter going to try a three-pointer. No good. Rebound by Tider to Harrison. Cumbie bumps for a second. Chandler no good on the shot. Chandler steps in, takes the charge.
Late July, always important to sub early and often, and sometimes in waves. You see all these kids out here grabbing their jerseys saying, "Coach, Coach, I need one right here." I know one thing's for sure, when they're driving home this evening, coming back from Augusta, Georgia, that they'll sleep well in the back of those cars.
Oh, yeah. Tider going to be fouled there by Sanders on that shot. Send her to the line.
Okay. It's only 3. What is that? She's got a grind too, KK. Job in there. Put your hands up and open them lungs up. Breathe like I told you.
Tyler splits the free throws. Rebound by Hart. She'll get it to Ferguson. Back in the hands of Sanders, who's one kid who we haven't seen tug her jersey yet. Coach Baylor going to get a timeout. That'll be a full timeout called by Coach Baylor. You know, Hemi, with the different areas that are represented by our team PSB staff. We've got Chris Hansen out there in Seattle. You know, you and I being from the Midwest. Kyle Moore, the Philly area. You know, it's fun when we have our different regional talks as far as, you know, the areas where we hail from. And with me being from Northwest Indiana, Hemi, I say this Baylor basketball performance is a pretty good one to file away in terms of my area being represented.
Hey, no doubt. That Midwestern basketball, Chicagoland area representing well here, even deep in the southeast amongst the smothering heat of Augusta, Georgia. What a great way to finish out the month of July here by Baylor basketball.
Here's Miller, gonna get it over to Ferguson. We're under the 2-minute mark. Here to play. Be sure to stick with us after this one. We'll have 3 more webcasts today. We'll have the DC Cobras taking on the Baton Rouge Lady Tigers in championship action next game. Followed by All Ohio Black against Exodus NYC, representing the Big Apple. And then last but not least, we will have Boise Hoop Dreams and Destiny Slocum taking on South Mississippi Elite.
Yeah, speaking of performances, not sure that Destiny Slocum has necessarily had that one signature performance, but she has put together a series of very quality ones. It's always exciting to watch Slocum play.
Definitely Hemi was able to see her performance to open up the Fab 48 the Power 48 summer finale. I was able to see that in person. And even though she dealt with some nagging injuries during that game, was still able to see a lot of what, you know, I heard going into the event. Missed her day 2 performance at Power 48, but I think the championship there at the event speaks for itself on that note.
I know many of these kids will be anxious to get back home in their own beds and be able to sleep and, you know, catch up on some rest and such. But this has been a productive July, just as always. You know, all of our Peach State basketball events have been tremendous successes, especially in the second half of July, the Summer Invitational. 88 teams, well over 100 colleges and universities represented. Finishing up strong here with the Elite 32 Summer Jam, and that'll do it for this broadcast here, Marcus.
So thanks for joining us here on Prospects Nation TV. I'm Marcus Burnett. He's J.L. Hemingway. Be sure to check out the archives from this entire live period there on ProspectsNation.com. We'll catch you back here next time.